Who here thinks that social media is more than a passing fad? Right? Probably? Okay, good, good. All right. But who here works with someone who is not yet convinced? And it's really tough, isn't it? Like, I talk all the time, like I've been studying the social CEO, and it's not easy because it's like, it's almost impossible to find them. And then I've been talking to board leaders and other CEOs about why they might want to give that some thought. Maybe going social is something, you should do in 2009. So it's a tough one though, because I actually spoke with somebody a few weeks ago. Has anyone ever had this conversation? Oh, I'd like to talk to somebody who actually makes money with social media. It's a whole industry, you guys. This guy did not have a marketing department. 60 people company, millions of dollars of sales already. Oh no, it's all sales. We go to trade shows, we put up booths. Good for you, man. Whatever. Okay, I love this card. Okay, we in this room, or watching on, Periscope, live stream, whatever, we are in the ark. And the folks who don't yet get it, they're the dinosaurs. The problem is we work with them. My own 12-year-old daughter, who's more active on Instagram than I will probably ever be, doesn't have any idea what I do for a living. It's not just old people who don't get it, okay? There's a huge divide in understanding between what social media even means to business, and yesterday, there were some government speakers here, even to government, what it means to society, to how we live, and what people see today. So, who's ready to lead the change? Because really, let's see some hands. I do not like speaking to followers. I want to speak to leaders. Because the fact of the matter is, if you folks learn anything, not just at my talk, but anything at this conference, that helps you in your career, helps you advance business into the social age, you are making the world a more modern and better place. You're making the transition less painful, and you need to be a leader. You need to step up. So, here's the agenda. I've got way too many things to cover, which I kind of like. So, we have to get to slide number 39, though, because it's my favorite quote of all time. It's Richard Branson. So, if we don't get to Richard Branson, and if we don't get to your questions, I will have failed you today. All right, let's see how this goes. Number one thing I want everyone to kind of walk away with. We say it 12 different times in A World Gone Social. My co-author was an engineer. He counted. I was a philosophy major. I had no idea we said it 12 times. More social, less media. It's not billboards. It's social media. But and this is not exaggeration, about 90% of companies have no idea that's how you use it. Now, I love professors, but if you look at the professor profile on, just in general, on social, they're pontificating. They follow one person, or they follow 30 of their closest friends, and they tweet out their wisdom. It's not just professors I'm talking about, but it's a really funny thing to kind of watch how that happens, and also to watch the ones who are social, who are truly social. Folks, you are not, I'm not talking to you obviously, but for you to carry on to the people you speak with, you are not social if you're not engaging in conversations. Brands need to engage in conversations. Governments need to engage in conversations. We have a real-time feedback loop. It's incredibly valuable. Leaders throughout history have looked for more information. Give me the information I need to make the right decisions. Now we have too much information, but we're not doing the right things with it. Like, for instance, talking to our customers. Talking to our customers who have defected. That's a really valuable conversation to have. Man, I'm sorry you hate us so badly. It could be that this person's a crank and they're off their medication, but it could also be that your company deserves it. Okay? That real-time feedback loop is invaluable. Okay, so here's the first topic we're going to cover. Welcome to the social age. About 2008, enough of us were on social media that the industrial age finally died. Now, this is key. Who read that it ended in the 70s? Who's read that at some point we are in the digital age? It used to be the computer age before that. You guys, social media transformed the way that we communicate, transformed the way that we share wisdom, information, transformed the way that we work in any aspect, and it has ushered in a new age of business. The way we work today is as different as the factory was from the farm. And for old school leaders to say, nope, we have the hierarchy, we've got to keep the bureaucracy in place, we need command and control, we have to use digital media to better monitor and control and micromanage our employees, man, they're not going to be around for long. Okay, the customer holds all the cards in the social age. Think about that. We have power, and we've been exercising this power. You don't like a fee from Bank of America. Years ago, set up a change.org petition. Get them to rescind the fee. That happened, and I love it. Verizon learned the lesson that Bank of America suffered, and this was back several years ago, and they had a similar incident where they introduced an unfair fee, but they were listening, and when their customers started pulling a Bank of America on them, in a day, they rescinded the fee instead of a really painful month. Social media allows us to do that. It's absolutely invaluable. The employees also hold all the cards. Now, we are a little bit slower to realize this, but in a couple of slides, I'm going to show you something that, if you lead others, is either awesome news or horrible news. Marketers can't spin. My role as Chief Marketing Officer, I do not trust marketers. Nobody trusts marketers. And every marketer I talk to wants me to shut up about that, but the only marketers they trust are themselves and their team. They don't trust other marketers. Do you trust marketers, guys? Anyone? No. No. Everyone's shaking their head no. Okay. Recruiters also can't spin because we can just ask somebody, hey, how come you used to work there? Why don't you work there anymore? I actually did this with a big IT advisory firm. Several years ago, I thought, it might be cool to be a social media analyst for this company. They're doing some cool stuff. So I reached out to somebody that I knew, and I asked him, I said, hey, Ron, your bio on LinkedIn says you used to be, and on Twitter, says you used to be an analyst with this company. And I noticed there's a lot of people who say they used to be an analyst with that company. And he said, I'll tell you exactly why. Because they don't listen to what we have to say internally, so it's like the cobbler's, shoes, where the cobbler's kids have no shoes. They don't take our advice that we're selling to other companies. They don't pay us well. They don't give us any respect. And so you build your career and you move on. He says, I would not recommend you working for that company. So there you go. They never knew I was even considering them. Recruiters cannot spin. They can try, but good luck. All right. The truth gets out. The truth matters. In the social age, what we're seeing is the truth keeps biting bad actors in the ass. Oops. And the truth keeps benefiting others. How many of you are familiar with the kid who wanted some soup from Panera for his grandma? She was dying of cancer. Familiar with this story? It is phenomenal. So this guy, he's just a young boy. His grandmother is in the hospital dying, and he said, Grandma, what can I bring you? I love you, you're in pain, anything. She said, I really like that clam chowder they have at Panera. And he said, oh, shoot, tomorrow's Wednesday, and they only serve it on Fridays. He called up the manager, and he asked. And she said, sure, of course I will. Now, how many of you have ever experienced a company where they said, nope, it's Friday, can't do it, sorry, it's policy. Okay, but this manager didn't even think about it. She's like, of course I can. She made up 2 bowls for him. She also gave him some cookies, and he went, and he posted this story. You know, the grandmother was delighted, and he posted this on Facebook, and a couple people noticed it, but then his mother posted it and tagged Panera. 800,000 likes later, Panera's stock and profits the next quarter and the next several quarters went up clearly as a result of this free advertising. You can't buy that. You can't manipulate that. You can only hire people who care and then encourage them to continue caring by treating them well. I love that story. That is a social age success story. So here's the thing. Is this great news or terrible for your firm about the recruiters and specifically not being able to spin? Look at this. You don't need to raise your hands because maybe your boss is in the audience, but just think about this. How many of you are actively looking for work for your next position? How many of your employees fall into this about 7 out of 10 statistic? They're looking for work, probably not telling you. And as the economy heats up, as ours is, it's becoming a seller's market. Laborers, and we're mostly intellectual laborers today, we laborers are selling our services, and companies really want those services. So it's a good time to be an employee. It's also a good time to start your own business. All right, here's point number 2. The death of large. So, this is absolutely unavoidable. Large companies are too bureaucratic, too slow to change, too risk averse to survive if they don't adopt a model of small, nimble startups. It's just going to happen. It's already happening. Now let's talk about the Hollywood model. I love this. So in the book, we call it the nano corporation, but I think Hollywood really speaks to it. You ever watch a movie, you watch the credits. Maybe in this crowd, you ever make a movie. Has anyone ever been on a movie set at all, a movie crew? All right, so you watch you watch the credits going up, and it turns out often there are hundreds of people involved in this. And that doesn't even include the staff that comes together for the catering and everything else, right? Hundreds of people make a movie. And the way that Hollywood has worked for more than a century, it's worked very well for them if you haven't noticed, is Hollywood brings together people to make a movie, and then they go their own separate ways. They might go in their own separate ways in small teams of like 5. They might go in their own ways individually, okay? Studios do employ some people full-time, but typically, it's this bringing a team together to work on an important project that everybody's excited about, everybody's getting paid for, and then when the work is done, you're off to your next thing. That is the Hollywood model, and that is employment. It kind of strikes me that we're still not officially there according to the jobs reports. That, to me, is employment today, but that is certainly employment 2018, 2020, 2022. Small organizations coming together to do important projects. You can even do this within your company. You can stay employed in a 120,000 employee organization, but the work you do is for a project, and then you move on to the next project, internally, if not externally. Okay, which brings us to the gig economy. Any of you guys take Uber over here? Any of you take Uber back from one of the events? Okay, so I've been doing a test. I took a taxi from the hotel both mornings and an Uber back last night, and I'll take an Uber back today. So first of all, Uber was much cheaper, which I don't get that. But second of all, I was happy about it. But second of all, I'm talking to the guy, and this guy is like, okay, so I'm doing Uber, and I'm doing this other thing he's telling me. As soon as he found out that I care about social media, he's like, oh, you have to check out this app and that app. We're talking technology the whole way. It was awesome. It was like he was, educating me for almost free. So for $6. So he's involved in 4 different things. He's actively involved in Uber and one other job, and then he's building a business of his own. This guy is the modern economy. Okay. And your personal brand, folks, don't be anonymous. You can't go through life anonymously. Even if you're, no, so probably the people here have a social media presence, right? But the people you're talking to, even if somebody wants to stay with their company, they're very happy, they're on a career path, they need a brand to be noticed within their company to not only get the best offers for new positions as their career unfolds, but also to find the most exciting work within the company. Having a personal brand allows you to stand out, to differentiate yourself. So, size matters. It used to be that scale was great for big companies. Well, we don't make all that much simple stuff like, mining things from the ground. Most of us are not employed doing that. Most of us are not employed in steel mills. Scale works really well for that. What works really well today is being nimble and quick. Scale is actually a detractor to productivity and success. It's a huge drag on profitability for companies. The industrial age bureaucracy. How many of you guys love a bureaucracy? Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. How many of you are a manager or in any way something that does not directly work with you don't have to raise your hands if this shames you. I'm not trying to shame anybody. A lot of my best friends are managers. But how many of you are part of a bureaucracy? It's a career path, isn't it? Right? It is. But let's face it, people in management positions, that's bureaucracy. And bureaucracy is only beneficial if it makes work better. If it slows work down, it's like a cancer because they keep making more bureaucracy. Ever notice that? And nobody's ever eliminating bureaucracy. It's interesting. All right. It's interesting to me, maybe not to you. All right. Point number 3. The social leader. And we call them a blue unicorn because they are rarer than unicorns. You have to look for a specific kind of unicorn. That's what a social leader is. Now, there are a lot of, you go online and you can see, CEOs, CMOs, you name it, of companies have a social media presence. This has started happening in the last couple of years. Before that, they were blowing it off by and large. But are they really there? Or is it somebody just out of college who is representing them? And let me tell you something. If somebody were to hire me to give a talk, and I gave a kid just out of college my suit and said, go give the talk for me, I would have some explaining to do to the client. It doesn't work that way. Having somebody represent you may be a really neat job for the social media manager, but it's a really lame way, if you're not careful, of branding yourself as a leader. You can just go online. We're going to look at some examples of, before we get to the examples, here's one actually social leader. The CEO of Lenovo. Chinese CEO told his entire staff globally, he said, you've got 1 week, executives, just the executives, you've got 1 week to go social or find another job. It takes 5 minutes to set up a social media account. Now, it's a little heavy-handed, but good God, it's 2015. And here's the thing. So this guy gets it. And it's remarkable when you talk to executives, when you talk to other CEOs who say, oh, no, that stuff is for the kids. For the kids. Okay, kids like me. Yes, it is. It's totally for the kids. Nobody's called me a kid in 20 years. All right. Okay, we wrote this post for Harvard Business Review on the 7 attributes of social CEOs. And just to give you a quick synopsis, one of my favorites, they just do things themselves. So for instance, Peter Aceto, a banking CEO, which is the rarest of all, right? A banking CEO up in Canada 5 years ago. The guy they were talking about what are trends that are going to be affecting our business. Actually, 6 years ago, 2009. And so that night, he just set up a Twitter account. And he started talking to his customers. And he's still there. You can follow him and you can talk to him. and he's the chief executive officer of a very successful organization. He just went and did it himself. They're curious, they're customer-driven. They want to talk to their customers and don't want a lot of studies and like Emperor's New Clothes advisors in their way filtering information. These are social CEOs. They're CEOs of the future. Within 5 years, sorry, one more thing. Within 5 years, we studied a lot of, we talked to a lot of board of directors at these organizations, the largest, organizations in the world. And they said within 5 years, social is going to be one of the top 5 skills we require when we're selecting our next CEO. That's pretty stunning. It's coming. And when I talk to audiences about that, I get 2 reactions often in the same day. I get the reaction of, you think it's going to take 5 years? And I get the other reaction of, well, yeah, it's going to happen, but 5 years, isn't that a little quick? So it all depends on your perspective. It also does depend on your industry. You have to have pressure from outside in order for things like this to happen. So here's a social CEO. This woman runs a media company. Okay, you'd imagine she might be social because she actually runs an online media company. But she does a really fine job. Here's another social CEO. This guy did not exist, as far as I could tell, before the Super Bowl last year. And all of a sudden, everyone's talking about John Legare. Who is this guy? Who's T-Mobile, who was almost bought by Sprint, and now they've displaced Sprint as the #3 carrier. They're shaking it up. This guy is passionate. He's sometimes ornery. And he talks to people on social. Now, you notice he's only following a few hundred people, and okay, I don't endorse that. I'm not saying that he is arrogant. I'm saying that gives an impression of arrogance that I might want to avoid. But look at this guy, Dun & Bradstreet. How many of you ever heard of Dun & Bradstreet? You wouldn't imagine they'd be one of the first people to line up and go social. This dude, I just started talking to him one day. I'm like, oh, so you have Dun & Bradstreet. You're on social now? Good for you. And he started talking to me back. So we're going to interview him for the follow-up for that, he and John both, for the follow-up for that article I was telling you about. Because I want in their own words, like, why do they bother? The things they say, the connections they make, that's the thing that I hear again and again. Yeah, it's good for our brand to be out there, and I'm the spokesman, and those 3 letters CEO, that really makes a big difference. I hear that a lot. I mean, it's true, right? People are like, oh, CEO, that's exciting. But they say, I like the connections I make. I learn all sorts of cool stuff by being online and by conversing with others. So that's pretty cool, hearing it from them rather than, kind of telling them that you should do this. Now look at this guy, Skip. Look at Skip. He is a very successful CEO. Right now he is heading up a very large nonprofit. And look at his follower-following ratio. This guy blogs, this guy connects. You reach out to Skip, I'll bet right now he would answer you within like an hour. He's just a very engaged leader. This is the leader that boards are going to be looking for within the next 5 years, if not already. Okay. Now, trend number 4. Larry, how are we doing on time? I feel good. I feel good, Larry. Thank you. All right. So trend number 4, open. I love this one. You guys, listen, I'm just a guy, okay? Now, I may be a guy who's up here talking to you right now. Yay. I like doing that. But I'm an ordinary person, and here's the fact of the matter. Everyone I've ever talked to, no matter how spectacular they are in their field, they're ordinary people too. You know the expression, oh, you put on pants, what, 2 legs at a time? How does that work? How do you put on your pants? 1 leg at a time, right? Everybody, you're good at one thing, right? I don't buy into the whole concept of celebrity. However, I do buy into the concept of being extraordinary through our network. It's who you know in the social age. So I was just talking about this with Ann Tran and Glenn Gilmore yesterday. So, okay, having, whatever, almost 500,000 followers is pretty cool. That's nice. I can get some things accomplished with that. However, I brought together a group just to see what would work with 3.6 million Twitter followers, and we'll be sharing the results in a couple of weeks just to see what that would be like if we came together. If we came together to try to move the needle, to get some results in some way. That's pretty cool. That is ordinary people coming together and forming an extraordinary network. All right? And that is, it's probably my favorite part of A World Gone Social, of the 15 chapters. We solve problems through collaboration. We crowdsource ideas outside of our organization as well as inside of our organization, and even inside, even in large organizations, be it government, be it large hospitals, be it global enterprises, using collaboration technology internally to find the top talent for a given project. Often, the top talent is not the people with the position. Using collaboration technology to discover who is extraordinary within your network, you can get some remarkable things done. Okay, now, final one, the new face of marketing. Okay, we made it to my favorite slide. This is my favorite quote of all time. Now, I get asked often, all right, Ted, you're a big proponent of personal branding. If we help our employees build their personal brand, won't they leave? I love that question, because you know what? Yes, your employees will leave because you're coming from the wrong place. You build their personal brand, help them do it. You can't do it for them. You help them, you give them the support they need, the encouragement, the recognition internally to build their own personal brand. You treat them so well, as Richard Branson says. I love this guy. Who would like to work for Richard Branson? I kind of would like to work for Richard Branson. I'm probably not serious about that, but train your employees so well that they can leave, but treat them so well they'll never want to. Folks, remember that slide with the 69% of people are at least somewhat, if not very actively, looking for a new employer while they're employed? Think about that. You want the best talent. But when you hire the best talent, the last thing you want to do is shackle that talent. I was talking with one vice president of a large hotel chain. And she said, this is my 5th enterprise. She said, each time they hire me because of my resume, my accomplishments, because I'm the best candidate that they can get for the job. And then as soon as they start working there, it's like I've just lowered my IQ points by 30. They treat me like an idiot. I can't make simple decisions for myself. I lead a staff of a couple hundred people. I can't make simple decisions without getting the okay of my boss or of a committee. Give your people the authority, and here's the thing, if you work within a company that doesn't give you the authority to make decisions, which makes your job more interesting, which allows you to grow professionally, if you don't, I hope you're looking. I really do. And I'll tell that to your boss and your investors. I hope your employees are looking, because you're treating them wrong, and your company's on the decline anyway, even if it's not going to show up for a couple years. It's happening. You can't treat people like children. You hire people to be mature, responsible adults and help them show that maturity, that responsibility, and help them build a personal brand. One way to do it, this is like the shortest commercial you've ever heard in your life. The company that I work for is Metal. I'm the chief marketing officer. And we create platforms like this where employees can create mini blog posts. Creating a long blog post takes a lot of time, and employees don't do it because they've got paying jobs. If they can do it in 5 minutes, they'll do it. And they're proud to build their personal brand. So this is a company with 500 data scientists. They had one marketer, one. And she said, "Can you help us? Because we don't have any content marketing, and we know that's really important." Which, how many of you think content marketing is important? Yeah, it's kind of, was it Seth Godin who said since 2005, every marketer ever has said we need content marketing? So this poor company. So she said, "Can you help me?" So now the data scientists are making little blog posts on their area of specialty, and they feel really good about that. So here's one, and this is kind of what she writes on. Here's another. This is kind of what it looks like, what one of them looks like. And that's it. I'm done. And Larry gave me 1 minute, which either means 1 minute for my presentation being over or 1 minute to begin my Q&A. Yes. All right, good. Because to be frank, folks, I hate talking at people. I want to see if I can help you if possible. So who can ask a question that I might be able to answer? I have no idea who's going to win the World Series. Yes.
So one of the things you brought up.
Oh. Oh, cool. Yeah. Thanks, Larry.
Okay, so one of the things you brought up was just looking at how many followers you have and the optics of that, like how people perceive that.
Yeah.
And who you're following, and people will say, oh, why are you following that person, not that person? So what do you recommend for someone who is a high-profile public figure, especially of who they follow, because it can be very dangerous to follow certain people, and the numbers also say something.
Okay. You can't ignore, we humans, yeah? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm going to lose a nuance or two, but the bottom line is, especially when you're advising somebody who's a high-profile, public figure, be it, is this a government individual or business leader? Just in general. Okay, sure. Okay. Sure. So in general, how careful should you be with who you're following, and especially with high-profile individuals? So for instance, if you are the social advisor of a social CEO or of a governor or something like that. Okay, here's the first thing. I think a lot of us pay too much attention to the idea that, for instance, I know of two people in the social media space who built up followings by following everybody back. Everybody, regardless of who they are. And then one day, each of them, within like 6 months of each other, they unfollowed everyone on their list. And you know what? Dance with the date what brung ya. It's just bad character. Like I just have written those people off. I can't even spend time on them. You can't do this. And as a public figure, I personally, not that I'm much of a public figure, but I'm a person who enjoys engaging in conversation with people who disagree with me, So even though I don't get involved in politics, because my profile is business and I'm all about business online, I don't like to mix. I will talk to business people who disagree with me. I will talk to people who are, their thing is, I don't know what, vacationing. That's not my thing. I'm a bad vacationer. I just like to sit at the beach and drink beer for a week, right? Done. But I'll talk to people who have interests that are different from mine. You can learn a lot of stuff that way. So I don't think that people should be overly cautious about like, oh, what does it look like if I follow this person back? Screw that. Look at Skip. If you follow Skip and you're not a robot, you're not a spam account, you're not, I don't know, like spouting off hate speech, Skip will follow you back. And me too. Like, you notice my numbers are a little bit, I'm more impressed with his numbers than mine because he follows just about everybody back and I have like a maybe 100,000 follower deficit. What I do is if you're not active on social media, I might unfollow you. Just, there's a lot of people who like to lurk, or who either quit Twitter or who like to lurk, and that's totally cool. But if you're not like part of the dialogue, I might not follow you, right? Skip is just like, no, you followed me, thank you, I follow you back. And it's just a matter of courtesy. Not everybody agrees, but to me, it's very important. That's what I would advise. But you guys, spammers, like, I wish that there were a button on my phone that I could just kind of press and give them a little jolt of electricity. Oh, I've never seen you before in my life, and you want me to click this so I can like your Facebook page? Just a little jolt. I don't want to injure anybody, but that would be cool. All right, who has a question? Was that helpful? Okay, thank you.
What you said is that there is no ratio that you recommend, whereas to build your personal brand, you should always have more followers than you follow.
No, the ratio is 1 to 1. It really is. And I'm not joking. I think his account shows a better ratio than mine because I follow almost everybody back. Okay?
Quick question. You just mentioned that you actually have kind of an ADD. How do you get organized? Me too. So I'm sure we.
How many people here have ADD? Yeah, exactly. That's why we're here.
That's how we do social media. Okay, so quick question. How do you get organized? What is your favorite social media, I don't know, management to get organized and keep everything? Yeah.
Can you tell my blood pressure just went up? Like.
So how do you do that?
I don't know. I'm not organized. No. So this is what I've been doing for the past 6 years. Every morning when I wake up and drink my coffee, my mouth doesn't work very well, and I wake up before my family. But my brain is good for writing, and it's good for simple tasks. So as I'm drinking my coffee, I might write a blog post, but I certainly go on Twitter and I just make sure everything's cool. Like I follow people back and stuff like that, right? This is what I've been doing every morning with my coffee. It's part of my routine. Having routines for ADD people is gold, right? The other thing is my phone, I am not ashamed of this fact at all. I probably only have like 30 apps, and most of them, I will take an app off of my phone quickly. I can't stand all the pressures. That's why I don't like Facebook too much. It's wonderful, but it's like a maze. You go in there and like this friend's saying something and there's this thing to like and there's this picture that's completely deceiving, which I wish they would stop. You click on a picture that's interesting and the picture is not in the video. It's too frenetic for me. It's too much, yeah. It's information overload. That's actually why I like Twitter, because you can have one just line of, I can see like, okay, these are the people who write for Open for Business, and this is what they're tweeting now. That's cool. So I can get back in touch with my friends. Lists, a list is worth its weight in gold. I have probably 90 lists, I think, I forget, but I have a lot of lists. But I use daily. I use like 3 or 4 of them to find my friends quickly. You need lists. Who's next? I think we have time for like maybe one more question. What tools? I'm sorry. Okay, ready? On my phone for Twitter, I use EchoPhone, which is spelled strangely. It's ECHOFON. I've been using it for years, and that's why I use it now. It has there's probably better stuff, but it's good for me. On my desktop, I use Hootsuite. And there are all sorts of bells and whistles that Hootsuite has that I don't use, so I'm not a good endorser for them, but I use them. In the morning, with following people back, there was a really cool tool that I used to use called Tweepy. But the problem with Tweepy is it allows you to follow people back easily, but my account got too big. And the guy's like, I don't want your money anymore. You're breaking our system. So I'm between platforms now. That's kind of it, you guys. I like it simple. And yeah, and I love analytics tools, so I've been really playing with the tools. But the thing is, it's like the arms race, where they keep, coming up with a better and a better algorithm, all the different companies. I am glad that I do not run an analytics company, because there's so much competition in that space. No, I know. And that's you gave me a really cool Nuvi. That's an awesome tour you just gave me this morning. But here's the thing, they're really cool now, but who's to say they're going to be like, top 5 coolest next week? They've got a hard job. Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry? One more. There was somebody in the back, though. I have to apologize. I'll be here. You two are going to have to fight it out.
Hi, good morning. My question is, you talked a lot about personal branding.
Yeah.
And I worked in the tourist industry in Mexico. I flew all the way from Mexico here. So,
wow.
And what's happening to me is that like travel bloggers and companies are coming to me first than the company that I work for.
Right.
So what kind of tips could you give me to not feel bad about it, but still like to leverage on that? Because that's kind of like an advantage for me anyway.
Right. No, it's awesome. No, so throughout time, good professionals have built up reputations for themselves, and sometimes they take that reputation and carry it on to start their own business or something like that, you guys. I'm not saying you're doing this, but in advertising, you know, somebody's book of clients, you know, hair professionals, which I know very little about, but I've heard, you know, often you'll have the best hairdresser at a salon start her own salon or something like that. Like, this happens. And it can happen in any field. That's the thing. If you have a strong personal brand and your employer is cherishing you for it, if your employer is doing one of these, wait, where did we lose that one? If your employer is doing this, by the way, this guy always smiles. You notice that? If your boss doesn't smile, find a new boss. All right, so some people think I'm joking when I say that. If they are treating you really well because of this strong personal brand you have, then you have a great employer. You may not want to leave, right? Seriously. If they're like, oh, look at this person getting all, you know, high horse and prima donna because they've got the big social media following. You know what? Whatever, you don't need them. And if your boss is allowing your coworkers to treat you that way, to kind of like, you know, the saying, the nail that sticks up gets hammered down. Okay, you know what? If you live in a hammer down organization, everyone loses in that organization. It is a loser organization, move on. And the boss who tolerates that, see, I'm a leadership author. Social media just kind of happened by accident. The boss who tolerates that is an incompetent boss. Okay, seriously. Okay, get a little emotional about this. I'm gonna have to take some blood pressure medication if we keep talking about bad bosses. You guys, encourage your employees to build a strong personal brand. Treat them so well that even when they get offered an extra 10 grand a year to work someplace else, they say, you know what? No, I'm good. That's when you have a strong organization that is fit to survive in the future. Okay. Am I done now? I'm very sorry that I'm done now. I want to, yeah, I'll be here. I'll be here. Oh, one more? Okay.
I have the microphone.
Oh, but no, she had the microphone. She raised her hand before you did. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Quick,
Good morning.
quick one. I have to be quick.
It's kind of related though.
Sure.
But as an owner of a small business,
Yeah.
How do you go, like for example, on Twitter and Instagram? Is it better to be posting as a person or as a business itself?
Yeah. Okay. Perfect example of that is I don't know what they're doing anymore because they rebranded the site, but if you noticed a couple of years ago, SAP's Business Innovation blog had a lot of guest writers. I was one of the guest writers. And so it was a high traffic blog. The person, instead of just a logo, it was Lindsay Lamanna was the face, that was her avatar for the SAP Business Innovation Twitter handle. That is so human. A lot of problem that businesses have is they put their logo up, and okay, you guys, who follows a logo? Are you excited to follow a logo? Are you excited to interact with a logo? I was talking to Hertz the other day, and the person put a little TC at the end, which is kind of funny, TC talking to TC. Hertz and I started having a conversation, but I had to get underneath that logo because they drive me crazy. There's a person there. Who's giving me this good care? I wanted to know. Put a human face on your company. Highly recommend that. If you notice the accounts with the highest followers, typically, except for something like HubSpot, they're doing an amazing job with their branding, but typically, there's a human there. It's individuals who have a high following, not companies, not brands. Yes, done. Okay, now I am done. Thank you very much.